Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our fiqh hour. Apologies again, slightly later than scheduled. As I mentioned previously, that's going to happen over these next few days and weeks because obviously the timings of how things have changed. Iftar is getting later. Obviously, Taraweeh is not moving much. So we're just going to get as much benefit, inshallah, as we can get. Let's move on to the theme straight away. And the theme is ethics and morality. So we all live according to a code. It's an unwritten code, and it's how we decide what is wrong and right in life. And it's usually measured by our fears and our appreciation, meaning we fear certain things or certain people or certain entities, and we want appreciation from certain things, from certain people, from certain entities. That really decides our morality. So if, for example, we want appreciation from people, then what you'll find is our morality will be dictated by what is acceptable by the people. If, on the other hand, we fear the repercussions of people, that they will ridicule us, they will laugh at us, they will talk about us, then what you find is we will avoid doing those things which will bring about that kind of reaction from the people. So that tends to be, and we can have, our social, we build our own social circles around us. We will prefer to be around certain type of people. We will engage with certain type of people, and we'll build this social circle. And this social circle, in a way, will decide as to whether what we're doing is good, because that's how we determine morality, and what we're doing is bad. There are other people who use a divine code, a divine law, a revealed text as their moral compass, moral code, their ethical kind of background, their ethical structure, in the sense that they aren't too concerned about the repercussions of the people. So even though they may do something which can bring comments from people, they don't tend to be that bothered. Obviously, everybody prefers not to be at the sharp end of the people's tongues. However, they won't stop doing that particular thing if it will bring about the speech of the people, the talk of the people, or the talk of the town. And similarly, they will do something even if it's not acknowledged or respected or admired by the people. Okay. And when we say the people, we tend to be speaking about the general masses, not about obviously the specific people who will admire, of if they're from the same social circles, who will actually admire that particular task that we do. So that's really, in a nutshell, what our moral compass is. That, in a nutshell, is how we determine what is good, what is bad. And we've all chosen this. We've all chosen this. This can come from based on our upbringing. This can be based on the way we are as people. This can be also based upon our personalities. This can be our fitrat, our kind of inclinations. And this can be obviously the influences that we have experienced throughout life. And these will, as we grow up, we decide to, determine that. And before anybody says, well, actually, I don't think I've made a decision. In reality, we have made a decision. It's like a chap, for example. Let's just say he shaves his face and he doesn't keep a beard. So the person will say to him, the da'i will say to him, brother, you should keep a beard. And he will say, yeah, I know, I've sort of been thinking about it, but I'm just not sure. I'm just, a bit confused at the moment. No, brother, you should keep a beard. It's haram if you shave. It's categorically haram for a man to shave. There's no ambiguity. It's haram. And because, your kind of face goes around with you all the time, then you're praying Salah clean shaven. You're fasting clean shaven. You're giving zakat clean shaven. And obviously this is a danger. So brother, you should keep a beard. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but right now I'm just sort of thinking about it. Nah, it's nonsense. The brother's not thinking about it. He's made a decision. The thing he's thinking about is whether to keep a beard, but as to not keep it, he's decided. He's decided he's not going to keep a beard. This is just his confusion that he doesn't realize that he has actually made a decision. Every other day or every day when he gets up and takes a razor or a shaver and applies it to his chin, then he's actually making a decision. He's actually making a decision. In fact, if he was indecisive, he would have a beard. Why? Because you don't need to take any action to have a beard. You actually have to take action to not have a beard because you have to shave. So if he was truly, unsure, uncertain, kind of didn't realize what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do, then that would be, okay, you take no action. And when a person doesn't take no action, his beard grows. But this person is actually deciding whichever day he picks a razor up and applies it to his face, that I do not want to keep a beard. So therefore, he has developed his own moral compass. He's developed his own ethics. He's developed his own understanding as to what he perceives to be right and what he perceives to be wrong, even though he may not fully appreciate that. So we know, for example, some people might think lying is wrong. Okay. But some people might think in certain circumstances, lying is okay. Now, they will construct that themselves. They will construct their own moral code. As I said, sometimes what people do is they take a little bit from religion, take a little bit from upbringing, take a little bit from society, take a little bit from work colleagues, and they make this chimera of a moral structure. They make this chimera, this manifestation, this Frankensteinic bit of everything joined together, and then they make their model. This is how they decide what is right and what is wrong. So this is obviously, now if we go into it from a religious perspective, then we have been instructed, those who accept Islam, we have been instructed both by Allah and His Prophet, that our morals and ethics must be based on what Allah tells us is morally sound, and what Allah tells us is morally corrupt. What the Prophet ﷺ informs us is morally sound. What the Prophet ﷺ informs us is morally corrupt. It cannot be just based on what we decide ourselves, based on culture, society, the era we're living in, our upbringing, our ethnicity, our nationality, and whatever else we decide to chuck into this, as I said, Frankensteinic recipe to make this mixed bag of ethics and morality. Now, I think it's very important that each one of us tries to put a mirror in front of us in order to try to determine what is our actual ethical and moral compass. What do we use to determine what is right and wrong? What are we using? Because we need to understand what it is. The reason being is, what we don't want to be is confused to think and argue on the Day of Judgment that, oh Allah, we used your commandments and the Prophet ﷺ's commandments as our ethical and moral guidelines. Because if we're not, then at least we can make an educated decision. At least we can make a sound decision to decide which particular path we adopt and know the consequences of that path. Because we are biased in how we determine what is morally good and what is morally bad, depending on, because usually we're making those decisions based on the circumstances that we are in. And because of the circumstances we are in, we may, in order to get ourselves out of this particular circumstance, accept something which is clearly wrong and justify it. So, for example, if there's, let's just say, 3, 4, 5 siblings, and one particular sibling is looking after an elderly parent, and as that particular sibling is looking after the elderly parent, they justify it to themselves that, oh, I should be entitled to more inheritance than everybody else. And they justify that in their own minds. And the way they justify is saying, well, actually, morally, because I'm the one who's doing all the, providing service for my elderly parent and my other siblings aren't, then surely that gives me justification that I'm deserving of something more than everybody else. And because you're arguing for your own sake, the brain fools that person. into thinking, yeah, it's justifiable. And that's the issue when a person is not using a moral compass or an ethical guidelines outside of himself and is actually using his own brain or her own brain in order to decide what is wrong and what is right. So, we all, as I said, need to take that kind of deep analysis, deep assessment in order to determine where we are with that. Okay, let me just sum that up as I've done there and see if there's any questions that I need to pick up on. I think it's been fairly quiet. So, and then we can hold on. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. In a 4 rakat Sunna Salah, if someone has prayed Surah Nas in the 3rd rakah after Fatiha, can they pray in the 4th rakah after Surah Fatiha? They can pray Surah An-Nas again. There's no problem in repeating it. There's no issue with regards to that. Okay, so that's that question that's come in there. Anything on the ladies? No, nothing on the ladies. So I'll give about 30 seconds or a minute just to see if any questions do come up. If not, then we can finish for today. But before we finish for today, as is practice, I will give the theme, inshallah, for tomorrow. So the theme for tomorrow is Islam as a religion anti-technology? Is it against technology? Is it against making advancements in technology? Or is it, can it engage with technology? Does it harness technology? Does it embrace technology in order to further its efforts? Or does it want to rid of that? Sometimes what we're shown is we're given this imagery of Muslims that are given this imagery of being backward, of wanting to do away with laptops and phones and everything like that, and prefer to be kind of living a simplistic lifestyle. Is that showing a lack of interest in technology? Luddites, sometimes that phrase is used. Or is this a misinterpretation, a misnomer, misunderstanding? So that will be our theme, inshallah, for the next session, which all being well will be tomorrow, which is Islam anti-technology? Okay, so that will be for that, inshallah. Whilst I was explaining that, we just got a question that came up here. What's going on here? Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to go to that first. Assalamu alaikum. Are women allowed to recite the Quran, not from memory, whilst they are not praying, by using an app or online if a mushaf is not allowed? If not, what else should they do during Ramadan to make the most of their time? So when a woman is in her menstrual cycle, then she is not permitted to recite the Quran at all. Okay, whether using an app or online or anything of that nature whatsoever. If and in those circumstances, what she should do is she can do her azkar, yani the dhikr. She can perform dhikr. She can make dua. Okay, she can do that as well. Usually those days is a good time to learn more rather than do ibadat, is learn more. There's a time where there is no responsibility of salah, there's no responsibility of fasting, so that lady gets 3, 5, 7 days. So it's an opportunity now to say, okay, there's so much I want to learn, so I've got now some time available to me where I'm not having to pray my salahs and not have to do this. Let me just use that time effectively to learn more. So I would use that time for that purpose, inshallah. How much zakat do I pay on money that I owe a family member? My mum. That is a large amount, 20,000. She loaned it to me to help me buy a house, and I don't have a fixed date to pay, ideally within 10 to 15 years. Sorry, should say deduct as a debt. Yeah, I thought as much, because you do not have this conversation with my son earlier. You do not give zakat on a loan that you have. Okay, the person who gave you the loan will give zakat. So if I have taken a loan from Abdullah, right? So Abdullah has given me £10,000. So I don't give zakat on that £10,000. Abdullah gives zakat on it because it's Abdullah's money. But you've corrected yourself and say, actually, how much should I deduct as a debt? If this is a personal loan, then you will only deduct that much, I would say, that you are intending to give within this lunar year. Okay, so anything which you're going to give in the lunar year, you may deduct that. If you don't think you're going to give any in that lunar year, then don't deduct it. Similarly, if that person is not going to ask you for that money and you have the choice of when you want to give it, then again, you don't deduct it, because that person, like you says, might not ask you for it for another 5 years or 10 years. So what is the point in deducting it? So in essence, the best way in your circumstances would be that you work out how much you think you're going to give in that year, and you may deduct that. Okay. And that's about it. Am I right in thinking I deduct 1 year's Islamic mortgage and 1 month's worth of bills as debt? That's absolutely correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. But in your case, you see, this was your mum gave you this, so it's not a mortgage. Okay, so because this is what your mum has given you, then what your mum has given you is what you're going to return to her. Not necessarily, obviously, if you've got a mortgage as well, then absolutely you can deduct your mortgage payments and the upcoming bills. The upcoming bills are not a debt. Okay, the upcoming bills are not a debt. Remember that. The debt is what you owe. The upcoming bills are what comes into your household expenditure. Does that make sense? Because you know you're going to pay your gas bill. You know you're going to pay the electric bill. You know you're going to pay the water bill. So these are bills which you know are coming within a space of days or weeks. You cannot deduct groceries or things like that because you don't know what your grocery bill is going to be. You know, you might not buy anything. It might be somebody might come around, excuse me, and give you a month's worth of groceries. So therefore, that's that problem solved. Barakallah fiqh. Excellent, no problem, inshallah. So again, give you another minute or so. If any of those of you who've got some questions which you'd like to put to us, then please do so. And then if that's the case, we can wrap up today. As I said, the actual time is 7:30, in case you're thinking, you know, what happened today. Some days that just happens. So 7:30 is still the time, inshallah. Obviously, there will be another change in time. That will be probably end of this week, beginning of next week. There will be a change of time. Now we're on this time. And then that will be the last change of time whilst in Bradford. Then obviously we're heading off to London, inshallah. And the plan is to have the fiqh hour whilst I'm in London, but don't hold your breath. The reason why I say that is because I can imagine that when we go to London, it's going to be quite challenging. I'm just going to press a few buttons in order to move your chat up because I can't see it. Okay. Sorry to clarify, we do not deduct any bills. Or do we deduct? You do deduct upcoming bills like electricity, water, gas, rent. That you will deduct, yes, because that's fixed, that you're going to pay no matter what. And that's going to be deducted the next few days or weeks up to that 1 month. What you don't deduct is grocery bills, because you don't know what your grocery bill is going to be. But your gas, your electric, your water, gas, electric, water, your rent, and obviously if you're based in the UK, we also have council tax. So these are fixed. Okay, you can't start deducting your Netflix and you can't start deducting your, Sky, because these are, entertainment. They're not necessity. You don't need to have Netflix. You don't need to have Sky. You don't need to have these sorts of things. So you'll only deduct those things, which is a necessity, which is your electricity, your water, your gas, your rent, and your council tax. Can you please explain the reasoning behind women not being permitted to recite Quran whilst they're not praying? The reasoning is that a woman, when she is in her menstrual cycle, is considered to be in a state of impurity, very much similar to a man who is obviously has been involved with physical intimacy with his wife, the actual act of it, or he has experienced a wet dream, and therefore he goes into the state of janaba. Now, when a person is in a state of janaba, then they cannot recite the Quran, because you have to be in state of purity in order to be able to recite the Quran. Now, a man in a state of janaba can become pure because he takes ghusl. As soon as he takes ghusl, he can become pure. But a woman, if she is experiencing menstruation, she cannot become pure even if she takes a bath. Because even if she takes ghusl or makes wudu, it's irrelevant, because the continuous bleeding will break that ghusl again. So she will go back almost immediately into state of janaba. So until her menstrual cycle is complete and then she takes a bath, she then reaches the state of purity. Now she can. This is one of the reasons, obviously, why you get male imams and not female imams. This is one of the reasons why you get male prophets and not female prophets, because naturally a woman biologically has been created to be the source of future children, future generations. And therefore, without going too much into the biology, a woman has to experience a menstrual cycle in order for her uterus to go through the monthly cleanliness that it needs to go through in order to be clean and pure, in order for her to eventually conceive and have children. So that's that's the woman, that's the mother. And as a result, obviously, she will experience menstrual cycles. But when she experiences menstrual cycles, it takes it away from Salah. It takes it now. How would it be if an imam could not lead 6-7 days in a month because due to having a menstrual cycle? So therefore, that's why a man doesn't experience menstrual cycles, and that's the reason why he can do imamat, because an imamat is a role that is done on a daily basis every day. Similarly, the work of a Nabi is that he receives revelation. Now, if a person cannot recite Quran, then how can they receive revelation, which is Quran, in a state of impurity? So therefore, a Nabi also is in that. So that's the rationale behind it, inshallah. Yeah, keep them coming. I'm here for as long as you need me to be here. So if you have a couple of questions, please fire them away. I'll give another 30 seconds or so. And if there's a pause, inshallah, then obviously I'll bring the shutter down today, inshallah. No problem at all. As I said, wherever we can give explanation, once a person gets an explanation, what it helps them is that it helps them understand the deen better. And it helps them, when it helps them understand the deen better, then their practice becomes better. Because with knowledge, practice is stronger. In the absence of knowledge, practice becomes a little bit, weak, a little bit shaky. So inshallah, feel free to ask. And where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet ﷺ has not given his explanation, or where we cannot draw explanation from the ulama, then it's one of those things that we just accept. But if ever we get to that particular point, then I will say inshallah. Okay, so I think everything is done for today. So again, same time, not same time as today, because today I was a little bit late, but same time for now, which is 7:30, at least for the next few days, until we make the announcement of another change of time, inshallah. But keep sharing the videos, as I've mentioned previously. Also share the handles so others can benefit as well, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.